College of Kalinan, Business Administration Department. And he teaches English and mathematics at the College Education Behind Bars at Davao City Jail. He is also currently the senior lawyer and managing partner of Balucos Law and Realty Offices. He is the director of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, Davao City Chapter, and he writes and edits The Advocate, the official news magazine of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, Davao. Our speaker finished Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering at the University of Southeastern Philippines. He was an academic scholar for 2 years, and he also served as the editor-in-chief of the Collegiate Headlight for 2 terms, and was the first EIC from the College of Engineering. And during his time in the college years, he was the president of the Obrero Campus Student Council and USP Supreme Student Government. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker, plenary speaker 6 is no other than the Attorney Danilo Balucos.
Officials of the University of Southeastern Philippines. I saw Dr. Gabates somewhere there earlier. Officials of the Bureau and Jail Management Technology, Davao City Prosecutor Nestor Oiresma, guests and participants, good afternoon. A week before, I met Attorney Cariaga at Insular Waterfront when we were having the mandatory continuing legal education. And she asked me if I already accepted the invitation to speak in this conference, and I told her that I'm already ready with a 4-hour presentation. Earlier, at the back, Ami was browsing my draft outline. She said it's too long. So again, I told her that I already asked for a 4-hour slot. Anyway, I'm just kidding. I had 4 options for introduction. So actually that's the problem with lawyers. Sometimes it's hard to start, but once we start talking, it's difficult for us to stop talking. So although I usually talk extemporaneously, I opted to have at least an outline so that I know when to stop talking. So if there's any timekeeper, please let me know if my time is up. I was worried again earlier if the next speaker would be Judge Adlawan, because if I eat up some of her time, I might be cited for direct contempt. Judge Adlawan, she already left. She scolded me in the Panaco court. I told her before she left that I will talk about it even if you will leave. I came to her court unprepared without reading the case file. Then I filled in for a partner lawyer, Attorney Danilo actually, just to have the case postponed. So I didn't bother to read the case file. I slept all throughout the short travel to Davao City, and the opposing counsel already agreed that we will reset the hearing. So I was confident that there's no big deal. All you have to do is have the hearing reset. Lo and behold, Judge Adlawan asked some questions about the case, and I didn't know anything about the case. So finally, exasperated, she told me, Attorney Balucos, do you know what you are talking about? What are you talking about? So anyway, that was my experience with Judge Adlawan. She is reasonably strict. You have to be prepared to come to her court. Otherwise, we already saw her during her presentation. She's typically bombastic. How much more with unprepared lawyers? Anyway, I feel great to be back here in my alma mater, particularly in this social hall, which is the venue of several treasured memories in my meaningful and colorful college days. It was in 1993 when I completed my electrical engineering degree here in the University of Southeastern Philippines. But it was only last year when I finally considered to using USEP. Years ago, I stubbornly stuck to using USP. I did not like USEP. It sounded like medicine for colds. Aside from beauty pageants, one of which landed in the national news because of a very freak accident, this social hall was witness to our mass actions and protests way back in 1992 and 1993 when I head the student government with Attorney Largo as one of the Congress representatives of this department. Anyway, my student activation days honed my leadership skills and perhaps enhanced my teaching skills also. Years later, I was here for the alumni homecoming when we elected the second president of the Alumni Association, Attorney Ramon Edison Batacan. The founding president was Attorney Largo, BS Statistics cum laude graduate of USP, I mean USEP. After Attorney Batacan's term, I was given the privilege to lead the Alumni Association, which was my ticket to the Board of Regents of USEP for a term of 2 years. With Roger Largo as mentor and a law firm partner, I was doing very well in private litigation. With his network, I did not have any difficulty in getting clients, including those which give substantial financial returns. Late last year, I'm still talking about the venue, we launched the Students Legal Education Roadshow right here in this venue. So the first of a series, the first was done in USEP. Going back to my story, I don't have a research paper to present, so I have to be very personal with my discussion. Going back to my story, I was doing very well financially as a litigation lawyer in private practice. Ironically, I reached a point when I was like in limbo. I did not know what I wanted in life. Despite knowing my potential to be a very good trial lawyer, I had a lot of doubts, hesitations, and even fears. Those were among the reasons why I took a leave of absence from litigation and do some soul searching. I stayed away, literally, from the legal profession circle and spent more time playing badminton, joining, and organizing tournaments. That's why I got gold medals in Davao City, in Davao City, General Santos City, Coronadal City, and as far as Clark Air Base in Pampanga. So, my classmates were asking, at the time, gusto, nag-law school pa ka for 5 years, for 4 years, and 5 years including the bar. So anyway, that was my routine. I was in some consultancy with some business organizations, but I was not really that happy with the practice of the profession. Until I had a stroke in 2015. It was not a mild stroke. It was a hemorrhagic stroke, a potentially fatal stroke in 2015. After that near-fatal incident, my life turned 180 degrees. So I began to appreciate the things that I ignored before. I started to appreciate my being a licensed electrical engineer, my being a lawyer, my being a writer, my being a speaker, etc. Anyway, so I already told you about the period when I was in limbo. There was a point when I already realized that I was underutilizing myself. So, when I bumped into Dean Manny Kibod, my jogging mate here in Obrero, I asked him, I told him that, Dean, I wanted to volunteer for IBP. I came across with a material of the Supreme Court saying something about projects on jail decongestion, declogging court dockets, etc. So when I told him that I'm interested in those projects, he told me, why don't you talk to Roger? He is the incoming president of IBP. I didn't know about that information until after that conversation because again, I was away from the legal profession circle. So, Even before talking to Roger, he called me up and set an appointment. So he confirmed that he was running for president of the IBP, Integrated Bar of the Philippines, Davao, and asked me if I was interested to help as his executive assistant. So I immediately said, yes, I am not only interested, I am excited because that is really what I wanted to do. So, in short, I was appointed as executive assistant, but the official title is special assistant to the president. EA is the same, but SAP is the end thing. You know, ready, get set, go. So I became the SAP of the IBP, special assistant to the president. So Roger also asked me what are the particular projects or programs that I'm interested to get involved with. So I told him that I really love Pinoy Abroad television show. Are you familiar with that? It's a lifestyle magazine show on TV featuring lives of overseas Filipino workers. I told Roger, I want something like that, but with a little focus on legal components because being a lawyer. So it turned out that services for AFWs was already among the projects in Roger's mind. That is why late last year, we went to Hong Kong to do legal aid for AFWs sometime in November of 2017, and another one in Singapore in January of this year. We're planning to do another one maybe later this year in Dubai. That's still being planned. So things that I wanted to do became reality because of my being active again with IBP. So aside from projects with the OFWs, I also told Roger about the interest to do some projects involving detainees, the congestion of the jails, court dockets, the congestion, etc. It turned out again that IBP has a literally concrete project at the Davao City Jail. I'm referring to the lawyer's lounge. Before, there was no facility for private conversation between the lawyer and his client. So that was literally the concrete project of IBP. Now, this is my segue. How did I get into the college education behind bars? I was with the team of IBP for the groundbreaking. Then we went back when it was almost done. I was with Roger again to bring some mugs for the coffee. Then there were apparently there was an activity at the adjacent building, which turned out to be the college education behind bars. So we went in. There was a dialogue between some detainees and Judge Adlawan, who was our presenter earlier, and Judge Carpio. So they are judges, so as lawyers we have to pay the courtesy call. Who knows, I may have some cases that will be ruffled to their salas. So later, Dr. General, the president, and Dr. Villanueva, the VP for Academic Affairs, arrived. Then we were talking about the project, the college education behind bars. Right there and there, I applied verbally. I told Dr. General that I wanted to teach. Then she asked me, what subjects? So I said, I can teach mathematics or language. A week after the start of the class, Attorney Susan called me up that I was given 2 subjects, English 1 and Math 1. So the journey of my teaching at the college education behind bars started with a mere accident that we went to the lawyer's lounge of IBP and there was a dialogue using one of the classrooms of college education behind bars. I think you already saw the presentation, so you more or less have an idea of how the college looks like. So there are fully air-conditioned classrooms, better than the classrooms of Ateneo College of Law. We have a coffee shop with baristas pirated from Starbucks. What else, Ma'am Susan? What else am I allowed to talk about? Anyway, so it is really an excellent facility. So again, I was given 2 subjects, mathematics and English. For my students, I have 35 students. There was already a presentation earlier that 70 applicants passed, 35 took up agribusiness, and another 35 took up computer technology. My loads were with computer technology. I taught algebra and English 1 last semester, and for this semester, I am teaching trigonometry. I will be holding the final examination on Friday. So, my students are far from abnormal students. We have some second coursers. We have a graduate from De La Salle University who is a daughter of a former judge and an American nurse. So she excelled in language, expectedly. I have a third-year engineering student before he was arrested. He used to study in a state university in Eastern Visayas. He topped the class. I think he topped the whole college. He's the Dean's Lister. So there are 3 Dean's Listers from among my class. Then I have a lot of call center agents. There was one who used to work abroad. There is one who is out of bail, and she is continuing her studies here at the College of Technology. Another was freed after the dismissal of her case last semester. She went home and still thinking about her plans, including the possibility of continuing her studies, whether that particular course or something else. Another one was released yesterday, but he has to go back on Friday for the final exam in trigonometry. The promulgation was, the decision of his acquittal was promulgated by Judge Adlawan on May 11. So actually on May 11 I cried. I easily cried, not on Korean telenovela. I cried for 2 reasons. One, I was disappointed with the Supreme Court's decision on co-warranty case. I was disappointed. I don't want to elaborate on that. But I cried because I was happy with the acquittal of one of my students who spent 9 long years in jail. So imagine, if the college education behind bars was established at the time that he was detained, he could have finished 2 courses, agribusiness and computer technology. You know, these students are basically the same students as we are. That is why, again, I won't elaborate. I have some reservations or oppositions on the manner the drug war is being carried out. Don't get me wrong, I'm against drugs, but the way it is being waged, I have some opposition. What if my Dean's Listers were extrajudicially killed before? I could have not met them in person. So anyway, those are political issues. I don't want to discuss that further. So I'll be back at the college education behind bars for my Trigo final exam. I'm waiting for the loads for the succeeding semester. And at this stage, I have a few minutes left. I would like to thank Dr. Myself, Dr. Mineralao for the rare opportunity to teach, to volunteer at the college education behind bars. I am confident that my students learned a lot from our discussion, but I also learned a lot from them. They keep me grounded. They remind me of my own shortcomings. I committed several mistakes in the past, maybe not to the extent of giving reasons for the authorities to arrest me. But in a way, when I told you about that limbo period of my life, I also imprisoned myself. That is why I connect with my students. I told them, you are incarcerated for whatever reason, but for a long period of time, I also imprisoned myself. After opening my eyes to my purpose, God-given purpose, I was free. And I look forward to the freedom of my students too. So, I'll be busy. I'll be taking on a lot of responsibilities and opportunities. But one thing that I can assure Dr. Alan, Atty. Cariaga, Dr. Generalao, and the BJMP officials behind the project, I commit to continue to volunteer, to teach at college education behind bars as volunteer of CEBB. And just an announcement, I've already committed to teach at the College of Law of USEP, which will open in 2019. Will be in January or August. Manimalos ko. No, I'm not a terror professor. I can't be what I am not. Although terrorizing is the norm in law school, again, I cannot be what I am not. Then, I am sure many officials from BJMP are interested to enroll, and they are still trying to assemble the lineup of faculty. But I already committed, I will teach, and that will be my full-time job, the teaching in the College of Law. It's good to stay in academia. I need not use my license to lie. Because in academia, you stick with the books. You stick with what is ideal. So, my career path is that I'll teach full-time at the College of Law. I'll continue volunteering as faculty of the College Education Behind Bars or any other facility of CEBB. And I'll continue with private practice because we are allowed to do that. And maybe technically, my sharing is not very useful as the research process. But I'm telling you, there are more important things than algebra, more important things than trigonometry, more important things than lawyering or any other profession. I enjoy my life at the College of Education Behind Bars. I'm proud to be part of the pioneering project of USEP, CEBB, and BJMP. Thank you, and my master.
Thank you so much, Atty. Balucos. That was actually very inspiring story. He was once in prison, but his imprisonment is not the physical imprisonment that we all know. Nevertheless, his contribution to transformative education led by CEBB and USEP is of course recognizable. At this point, before we proceed to our last topic this afternoon, we will have a very short portion for any question from the floor. You might be asking because Atty. Balucos is teaching in the city jail. You might have this question in mind: how can the students get enjoy the class? Or like, are they allowed to bring such? Are they allowed to use pens? Do you have that one in mind? Like, how do the detainees study? Because this is college education behind bars. Food. Anyone? Okay, that's my question, sir. That's my question. My question, sir, was like, how does a teacher like conduct the class in a facility like what we have in Davao City Jail? Like, are they allowed to use? How about those subjects that need laboratory works? How do they do that?
They have, although limited, they have laboratory facilities. And as of today, I think we're almost 1:1 ratio, laptop to student. I'm not so sure. And of course, they're provided with scientific calculators. In my case, I cannot do the way mathematics subjects are taught at the College of Engineering. You know, we're given assignments every day, minimum of 100 items. So I was thinking that's good for practice. But how can my students do that? Their cells are, we know the limited resources of government. It's overcrowded. So they cannot do their assignments within their cells. Besides, within one cell, there are only a few students. So it may create an environment of animosity. Some are cleaning and the students are studying, writing their assignments. So I try to minimize as I'm leader of group discussion. Then I have a student who is a Filipino-American who is very good in language, so she is also the team leader for group discussion in English subject. I think that works. Our motto is, I adopted that from Gawad Kalinga, which also has a project at the female detention area. They have this slogan of walang iwanan. So I told them, it's easy for you to pass your subject individually, but it's great if everybody in the class will pass through teamwork. Not teamwork during examinations, but during group discussions and preparation for the exam. So, I'm also teaching in a quote-unquote normal college in Kalinan. My students at the College of Education Behind Bars are doing better because they pass the subjects without me resorting to giving bonus points just to pull up the average. So far, they're doing very good. I'm proud of my students. I'm proud of my students who has left the jail, either temporarily on bail or permanent for dismissal of their cases. And many of them will avail of the plea bargaining. Many. Maybe for practical reasons. Some may insist that they're innocent, but again, if you are spending many years in jail, and you can avail of plea bargain, which may result in probationable penalty, then that's a better option. At the jail, my rule is I won't accept any of the personal cases of my students. I don't want them to confuse of my role as their lawyer or their teacher. They consult me, but only on procedural matters. They ask me what's the latest about the plea bargaining rules. They ask me what is the moral to evidence, etc. But I never discuss the merits of their individual cases. I always tell them to refer that to your lawyer because I'm not your lawyer, I'm your teacher. Then, so far, again, so far so good. The best thing is that I learned a lot from my job at the College Education Behind Bars. I encourage you to visit the facility. My first visit at the College Education Behind Bars was only my second visit to the city jail. I used to have detained clients before, but I met them just prior to the trial. I did not bother to exert extra effort to visit them at the jail, primarily because of the lack of the facility for private conferment with my clients. But anyway, we have the facilities, so the lawyers now are more frequent in visiting the detained clients. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Attorney Balucos, for bringing us to your classroom. At least now we can see how a teacher does all of those lessons inside the facility of the College Education Behind Bars. Okay, at this point, thank you so much, Attorney Balucos. We will have the Certificate of Recognition awarding, and I would like to request Attorney Balucos to join us here to receive this Certificate of Recognition. Faculty of the College Education Behind Barma City Jail, Davao City, for delivering an inspiring and insightful talk as speaker in the first international conference on inmates transformative education for successful re-entry, signed by President of USEP, Dr. General, and the President of CEBB, Dr. Alan David Maisel. Talk for this day, the first day of this international conference. At this point, let me introduce to you our speaker from the City Prosecutor Office of Davao City, City Prosecutor